Well, hello, and apologies for not having this scheduled, before 5 minutes before this starts. It's been one of those days. My name is Becca, and if you are new around here, first of all, I'd like to say welcome. Every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I like to do a little live stream, usually for about 2 hours from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where I just work on a project. This week, I'm going to be continuing the progress on the lion, which you can see behind me. This is a legit kit. The kit does not look exactly like this. I am tweaking it just a little bit, and once I have the full quilt top done, I will do a whole video on how I tweaked it, why I tweaked it, what I did, how I did it, so that if you want to tweak a legit kit, maybe recolor it or do some other fun things like that, maybe that tutorial will be helpful for you. What I am planning to do is just continue on the progress with this. I'm not doing this the same way that Legit Kits tells you to do it. Usually they tell you to build out 4 blocks and then put those 4 blocks into a bigger block and dot, rinse, lather, and repeat. I'm doing this row by row. So I'm starting at the top and working my way through. And for those of you that have never done a Legit Kit, let me just tell you what that means. So in the world of Legit Kits, these are foundation paper piece kits, FPP kits. And what that means is you're going to get a stack of paper that's about as thick as a Bible. No joke. It's going to have all of your paper piecing templates on it, and it's going to have all of your instructions for how you're going to do all of that, what your color layouts are and everything. And then you're going to get a generous amount of fabric. All of their fabric is Kona cottons, Kona solids, and they give you a fabric guarantee when you buy one of their kits. If you run out of any of your colors, then all you got to do is reach out to them and let them know, and they will replace whatever or send supplements of whatever. So you don't have to worry about running out. I've done a couple of these now, and I have not run out of any of my colors. And if I'm being honest, I have tons of scraps left over. So don't worry about running out of fabric. What Legit Kits does with their wonderful patterns projects is they take these beautiful detailed images, but they break it down so that every element of that quilt finishes at a 7-ish by 10-ish block. And then you just make a whole bunch of those blocks and you put those together just like you would if you were just doing a straight up quilt where you're just sewing squares together. You just focus on building the squares, and then once all the squares are done, you put them together. What I am choosing to do is build out all of the squares in each row. And when all of my squares for that row are done, then I'm creating the row and attaching it to the quilt. I have the first 3 rows done and 2 I have 2 eyes. I'll move out of the way so that you can see. I actually have 2 eyes on the lion that are done. Those are extremely detailed. So this row took me quite a while to do. I've heard that the next 2 rows conquer the nose and the mouth, and while those are not as detailed, I've heard as the eyes are, they still take a little bit of time. So that's what we're going to be working on tonight. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see who we have here tonight. Let me just get this sized up so that I can read it correctly. We've got Pat Strawhouse in the chat. Hello, Pat. She says, hello all from Muskoka, Ontario. She's just listening while she sews. I love to sew, says Becca. Your lion looks amazing. Pamela Trexel asks, is it paper pieced? Yes, it is. Love the background, Ronnie says. We've got a few folks from Ohio. I see Deborah's from Ohio. Debbie Rhodes is joining from Kansas. Danelle Stitchery says your lion is looking amazing. And Kate says, I love, love, love that dark starry background he chose. And the moon is so cool. Thank you. So the moon is actually an FPP pattern that I designed. I made the templates for that because I wanted to have a moon there. I do think that the moon looks a little bit like the Death Star. And I worried that it would be too small for the background. But I think if you're that close to a lion's face, the moon's going to look that small. So maybe the perspective is actually correct there. So I started working on block number D4. So remember, everything in Legit Kits Land is a grid. The columns are labeled with letters and the rows are labeled with numbers. And so think of it as an Excel spreadsheet. D4, over to D, down to 4. That's kind of where I am. Smack dab in the middle of the quilt. The 4th row down and the 4th column in. And I do have most of the pieces already put together for this, but I have one more little piece that I have to do. I have to add some fabric to, and then I'm going to join all of those together to make block D4. So we're just going to get right into the overhead shot so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put the keyboard away. I do have the chat open here. I want to let you guys know though, they have a number of wonderful moderators who are going to be in and out of the chat tonight. And so if you have any questions, just tag them or tag me, and we'll make sure that the question gets answered, whether it's by me or by them. So just, there you go. That's about it. Okay, so this is the pile that I've already done. My essential paper piecing items. I'm actually going to turn this light on so you guys can see that a little bit better. My essential paper piecing items are making sure that I have a at a quarter plus ruler. I do like the plus because it has a wedge that allows me to crease my paper, and you're going to see me demonstrate that for you. I like to have a seam ripper on hand because you never know when you're going to have to rip those seams out. Just a few pins, a few clips, and then this easy press pen. Of course, my rotary cutter, a pair of snips. I do keep a 1x6 ruler to clean it up. You'll see what that does in a minute. And my iron. And I got smart for this. Instead of reaching all the way over here, I just put my iron in the middle of my desk for this. Oh, I do use a clapper and a small ironing board. You're going to see how I use all of these as I go through the process. So I'm just going to step you through and we're going to have a little bit of a chat. Becky says, aren't the kits a little pricey? I won't lie. The kits are expensive, but they're not overpriced, if that makes any sense. The value is definitely there, and I can't explain it other than to say they put a lot of time, a lot of energy into designing those, and they give you a ton of detail and a ton of fabric. Yes, it is expensive, but no, it's not overpriced, if that makes any sense. And if you're worried about the price, they have sales occasionally. I know they just had a big sale for some of the Black Friday. On Black Friday, they had some, so maybe they'll have some more coming up too. All right, so I'm going to start off by grabbing my fabric AA, and we're just going to get started. If you're not familiar with foundation paper piecing, this is essentially quilt by number. It's like color by number crossed with quilts. And I'm just going to walk you through how this works. I have a piece of paper in front of me, and this is what we call our template. It has a bunch of different sections that I need to fill in with fabric. And each one of these sections has a number in it. I need to start with the section that has number 1 and then go to number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You get the picture. The other part about this is the codes. These letters that are in each of these fill sections represent a color in my color legend that came with the kit. That's the color fabric that I need to pull. Now, spoiler alert, if you get into legit kits, those codes stay the same for all the colors. RP in this kit is the same fabric as RP in another kit. So you don't have to worry about any of that getting messed up. So I know that for spot number 1 right here, you probably can't see it, this is AA. So I'm going to pull my fabric AA. I get a sheet of paper that tells me all of the pieces that are going to be cut out of this one piece of fabric. And I like to just kind of come in and be like, okay, this is D4A. So I find D4A. And then in parentheses, it tells me which section. So that's number 1. And I just cross it off. And that's my way of visually knowing how much I still have left to do with this fabric. When all of this is crossed off, then I know that whatever is left is scrap and I don't have to worry about it. It's just extra fabric. It's just my way of gauging how far I am into that fabric. And then the next thing that I want to do is get a little piece of fabric that I know is going to be big enough to fill in this space. Now, I don't want to cut the fabric to be the same size as that shape because then I have no seam allowance for my thread to grab onto. So I want to make sure that I have a piece of fabric that is bigger than this little piece. So what I tend to do, the first piece is usually the easiest. I just kind of lay it on top of that to see if I've got something that's going to be at least a 1/4 inch on all 4 sides. And this little piece actually is going to be big enough. I do have a little crease in it, so I'm just going to set this on my pressing mat and give it a little pressy. Let me turn this off so we're not blinding you that way. And that'll get it to lay flat. When we're assembling with foundation paper piecing, we are always attaching to the fabric to the back of the paper. And this is where a lot of people tend to get a little mixed up. When you're dealing with print fabrics that have a right side and a wrong side, it can be very, very confusing because the first piece goes on one way and then the rest of the pieces always go on the other way. But because these are solids, there is no right side, there is no wrong side. So that takes some of the guesswork out of placing this. Before I put my first piece of fabric down, I'll grab my add a 1/4 plus ruler, and because I have my tapered edge, I can line that tapered edge up with the line that's on my paper and just fold the paper up. And I'm just going to kind of crease that all the way along. That's going to give me a fold line so that I can see on the back side of my fabric or back side of my paper where my boundaries are for my little section that I'm covering up. You could use a light box, that would totally work. And I actually do have one floating around here somewhere, but I didn't pull it out before the live stream. So we're doing this without the light box tonight, which I think is particularly helpful because not everybody has a light box in their studio to work with, right? So now when I flip it over, I can kind of see the fold lines. I see my little piece there that I need to cover up. I'm just going to set this fabric on there again, and I'm going to fidget with it a little bit to make sure that it's covering up that whole section plus a 1/4 inch on all the sides. And then when I pop it back over, I'm going to look for section number 2. It's right here. So all I need to focus on is this. I'm going to find a piece of SL fabric that's going to be able to cover all this up, and we're going to line it up and just stitch just on that line that's going between 1 and 2. So all of this AA fabric I'm going to put back. And by the way, I know I'm giving you a whole lot of information right up front, and I'm not being very personable in the chat. We'll get to the chit chat in a moment, but I just want to explain how this works for folks that don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I figure if I give you the information up front, then you'll be able to follow along a little bit better. This is a piece that I think might work. It's a little wonky. I think that's an official term. Yeah, I'm thinking it's not quite big enough, so I'm going to get a bigger piece. And I'm just going to cut off a section just like this. So I'm going to put this back behind AA again. Hold it up to a light source if you need to. And then I'm going to take this piece and that line, that fold line between section 1 and section 2, we want to line up the fabric so that it's under section 1. And when I fold this over, what I'm looking for is to see if this section number 2 is covered by the piece of fabric that I'm adding it to. So I'm not worried about that first piece of fabric. I'm not worried about AA anymore. I'm now worried about this brown fabric. I'm looking and feeling with my fingers to make sure that this brown fabric is covering all of section number 2. And if it is, then I'm going to carefully pick this up. I will take it over to my sewing machine. And with a stitch length of about 1.5 or 1.2, whatever works for you, we're just going to start stitching. We will back stitch at the start, stitch on that line between 1 and 2, and we will back stitch on the end. I'll cut my thread and we'll bring it back over to my cutting mat. Then I'm going to grab my add a quarter plus ruler and I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to bump up that wedge against that fold and I'll come in and slice through. This I'm not going to worry about keeping. This is really, really, really small. I don't need to have that in my sewing room. Make that picture a little bit brighter for you. Once that's stitched, the next step is to flip my brown fabric over so that it's covering behind section number 2. So I'll crease that down with my finger. I'm going to grab my Acorn Easy press pen, and this is just going to put a little bit of starch right on that fold. I'll lay this on my pressing mat, which by the way I recovered. Doesn't it look amazing? And I will put some heat directly on that. I'll let it sit for a couple of seconds. Hello, Diana, the fiber fan. And then I will put my clapper on that and let it cool. And that's basically it. I'm going to rinse, lather, and repeat until I have all of those sections filled with fabric. I see Karen Diard has popped into the chat. She is my good friend from Florida. Hello, Karen. Ronnie says, thank you. This is helpful. You're welcome. If there are any questions that I can answer, please feel free to ask. We've got a few folks in the chat that are also very well versed with FPP. Tiffany, I saw her in here. Hello, Tiff. She actually did one of these before I even knew what it was. She did Sculliver, and she walked you through in a video series how to put that whole quilt together. So if you are curious about seeing one of these come together start to finish, I know she's got that excellent video series out there. Ian has done Margot the Boxer on his channel, and Donna from Handmade by Ying has done about 1 million of these. I don't think there's one that she hasn't done. So you are well supported. And then there are lots of other content creators out there. Some of them are even Legit Kit certified that have channels. So maybe check them out too if you are looking to understand a little bit more about Legit Kits. Okay. You may be wondering what this file system is over here to my right. These are hanging file folders. I have one hanging file folder for each one of my fabrics. They all have tabs on them with their codes on it. That allows me to keep my fabric organized and ready to go. I'm covering section 3, so I just need a piece of fabric that's going to cover that section, and then I will scratch it off of my paper so I know that we've covered it. BO, this is D4A3. And then there we go. We're just going to fold the crease back. I'm going to flip this over, line up my fabric, and just make sure that my fold is, when I fold the paper back, it's fully covered by the fabric underneath. If it is, I will take it over here and I will stitch on that line between 2 and 3. Ronnie wants to know if Donna's done the giraffe yet. I think I saw her in the chat. She can answer that for you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So that's my crash course in legit kits. Now it's rinse, lather, repeat. And I feel like I can start paying attention to the chat. Looks like Donna has it in her calendar for 2024. My chair was sinking down, and now the mat is coming with me. Oh no! There we go. There, that's a little bit better. Although I do need to fix that camera because I feel like I'm at the top of the screen. I'll fix that later, not tonight. Oh, will you turn the fan off, please? Thank you. I have a fan on the credenza where the tripod is sitting. Didn't even realize it was adding any sort of interference. Thank you guys for letting me know. All right, now I'm going to add more AA fabric. Awesome. Ronnie said she got the giraffe gifted to her for Christmas. Did everybody have a Merry Christmas? I'm going to fold between. So this is a little tricky, right? Because now the line that I'm adding to, the section I'm filling in is 4. It's way over here. 3 was here. So that just means I'm going to stitch on this line between 1 and 2 because these were the pieced sections. So we're always stitching on the line that's going to join our new number to whatever the pieced area was. You're always connecting. Trina says, I am late. Did you have a nice Christmas? You are never late. It is always appropriate to pop into the live stream whenever your schedule allows. I'm just grateful that you're here, whether it's for 5 minutes or the entire thing. So thank you for stopping by. Yes, I had an awesome Christmas, Mary. Why don't you grab a microphone too? Unless you don't want to.
I wasn't planning, but I will.
Okay. Here, I'm going to show you how to put it on your shirt, though, so it doesn't get rubbed. Like this. That'll work. That's how I have mine.
Okay.
We'll see if it works better.
Hello, everybody.
So, Mary, did you have a nice Christmas?
I had a wonderful Christmas.
There was a question about holding the first piece in place with a glue stick. Thoughts? Absolutely appropriate. And the reason for that is the fabric that is touching the wrong side of your paper is the wrong side of your fabric. So if you use just a dot of glue, like an Elmer's glue stick or Roxanne's glue based or something along those lines, it's going to hold it in place. You're going to be just great. Thank you, Cherish, the messy painter, for subscribing. I appreciate that. It's going to hold it in place. It's going to be fine. You could even use pins, though. If you're going to temporarily baste the fabric to the paper, I would use just a half of a dot of glue. I don't do that. And the reason why is because sometimes it can make it a little difficult to get the paper off of really small pieces. I just make sure that I'm very careful in holding my piece of fabric where it needs to be. And I make sure that my first piece under piece number 1 is oversized enough that if it scoots around just a hair, it won't be the end of the world. But there's no rules in quilting. You do what works for you. Mary, do you baste underneath piece number 1 in FPP?
I don't.
Do you do like I do? You just hold it in place?
I do.
See, 2 different quilters, same method. But I'm sure somebody out there does use the glue stick. Pamela's asking, what about the new 505 glue stick? I did not know that they had a new glue stick, but I'm sure that would work. That's just a basting glue.
Yeah, it's a temporary glue. Yep.
Leon Farmer says, hello from Las Vegas, Nevada. Hello, hello, hello. Another tip for you when I'm doing FPP, and this is a lesson that I learned the hard way. I heard, hi, Kathy. I heard folks say, I've heard folks say that your quilt isn't tidy if you get like little pockets or creases in your fold. And when I heard that, I overcorrected. So I felt like every time I went to fold my fabric back, whenever I had a seam that I needed to press, especially in the world of FPP, man, I was pulling it back and pulling it tight. Don't do that. You don't need to do that, because what happens is if you pull this back tight, number one, you might stretch your fabric, but you're going to start exposing the thread that you use to stitch this together. So when I'm ready to flip my fabric over, I just gently lay it over, and then I'll pat it down with my fingers and crease it. And that way I just have my fold. You don't see any of those threads that are being stitched. Thank you, Fallon. She says, I love all of the camera angles. Thank you. I do think I need to fix that one so it's up just a tad higher, but I personally love that you get all 3 views with 0 of the work from my end.
Becca puts a lot of work into her getting her camera angle set up just right.
I do. It is very important to me that you can see what I'm doing, because as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if I can show you, then I don't have to fight for the right words. I can just show you.
Exactly.
All right, this one was SL. So I'm going to put it back in my SL folder. No, I'm not. I'm going to pull it back out because I need it for number 5.
Make up your mind.
Make up your mind. Trina, somebody says, Trina, I agree, not even sure how to start. Monkey Man is replying to Trina and agrees with Trina. What was Trina saying? What did I miss from Trina? Let's scroll up. I can EPP till the crowd, I can't even say it, till the cows come home. For some reason, I cannot successfully FPP. My brain hurts with all the rules. There's only one rule that you need. Well, maybe that's not true. The biggest thing that you just need to remember is the first piece of fabric. It goes wrong side of fabric to wrong side of the paper. And then everything else from that point forward is the same that you would always have it. Your fabric is always right sides together. Always, always, always. Then the second rule is just make sure that you're lining your fabric up on its raw edge, on the seam, like you would a raw edge of any fabric that you're joining together. And you're putting a big enough piece there that when you flip over the paper, you can tell that the fabric, when it folds over and you press it, is going to cover that other section. And the way that I learned how to do that as a beginner FPPer is to use grossly oversized pieces of fabric. And eventually you start to learn and understand how to be conservative with your fabric. So if FPP is new to you, just focus on using solids to start with, or batiks, because there's not really a right side to any of it, and just focus on using really big pieces to stitch on the lines. Don't expect to do a huge thing right off of the bat. You want something that's going to give you instant gratification, right? That's what I think. Because I feel like if I can finish something, then I learned and now I'm ready to tackle the next thing. I feel like if I don't finish something, then I usually give up and don't want to do it ever again. Let's see. Becca, did you get something fun for Christmas? Yes. I got this lovely shirt from Mary that says, I'll be in my office.
So true, so true.
And I also got this custom, it's not Stanley, but it is a Stanley knockoff, and it's a pretty dang good version of it. But I love it more than the Stanley knockoffs because it's customized. It's got sewing things on it. It's all my colors, and it even has my name on it. And it keeps the water just as cold as my Stanley. So I've been going between that and this cup. I just keep water in here. It's just ice water. That's all I ever put in those cups. So I'm using that tonight. And then I did get a I did get a vacuum.
Yes, you did.
Which I think is always hilarious. I told I think it was Donna. I was like, I got a vacuum for Christmas. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I got a vacuum. She was like, if Joe got me a vacuum, I would blah, blah, blah. And I don't even remember what she said. I was like, well, in Jason's defense, it's a Roomba. And
That's
she was like,
nice.
oh, well, then in that case, I want a vacuum too.
I want one too.
Kathy Gerhardt says, LOL, I jumped in with both feet with a 36-inch square. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. All right. I think a beginner could do a legit kit. Maybe do one of the ones that have just one circle. So on each legit kit, they have a 3-dot system to tell you how intricate those kits are. All of them require the same skill level, but those dots indicate how intricate the kit is and how many tiny pieces you have. If it has 3 dots, the more dots it has, the more tiny pieces you have, the more detail. I would go for something that has like one dot, maybe 2. I think it's called Ursula Minor. It's the small polar bear. I did that one. It's 1 dot. It works up pretty quickly. There is some detailed area, but most of it is really big pieces. Sail Away is another really popular, from what I've heard, beginner-friendly legit kit because there's lots of really big pieces. And I've got an affiliate link for you pinned at the top of the live chat and in the description box down below if you are interested in picking one up. It won't cost you anything extra and it would help me earn a little bit of a commission. Is there a kit with 20 dots? No, it's only dots 1 through 3, 1, 2, or 3. And most of them, I won't lie, they are 3. But yeah.
They're not hard though. Don't think.
Oh, Lori says, I'd love to get a vacuum or anything for that matter for Christmas.
Oh.
Being a widow is awful. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lori. I was very lucky to be able to spend the holidays with my loved ones. We hosted a Christmas dinner, though I will tell you, a lot of our family has come down with the flu, so we didn't have as many people here as we had expected. So we've been eating Christmas leftovers for a couple days now. My stepdad also came down with the flu, and as a result, they have delayed their travel. My mom was supposed to come up on Wednesday. However, they're going to come next week because he's sick. He wants to keep his germs to himself. I think that is a wise idea.
Amen.
Yeah, keep your germs to yourself, people. Getting lots of compliments in the chat about Mufasa. That is the name that I am giving this lion as I work it up. And I think if you have ever seen the Lion King movie, you could probably figure out why. I will tell you, I was really happy. Is that SL? Yes, that's SL. I was really happy the other day. I was sitting in here and I had it hung up. I had gotten the first 3 rows together. And it was my first chance to kind of sit back and be like, wow, he's coming together. My husband came into the room and was like, he looks at it, and without me even telling him anything about the name of the quilt, he goes, Simba, everything the light touches. And I went, yes, because this to me is exactly like it's a quilty portrayal of that scene of the movie where Mufasa is talking to Simba and you've got the night sky with all of the stars and he's talking about how all the stars are their ancestors and like, to me, it's reading more Mufasa vibes the more I build it out. And I'm really excited about it because that was the vision I had for this.
I'm sewing on my machine, so if it starts to bother anybody because of the microphone, let me know.
Okay. Mary, in case you guys are wondering, is working on her tree skirt. She bought the same Quilt As You Go interfacing to make a Bargello Quilt As You Go tree skirt. However, she abandoned the Quilt As You Go portion of that.
That's because the perfectionist in me. I don't like bubbles in my quilt. and my
She-
quilt backs.
She got the first section on, added the second section, and went, nope, I'm not doing it that way. And took it all apart and started over and is doing it the traditional way.
Yep. Much happier with it too. It won't be perfect, but it'll be Mary perfect.
Oh no. Looks like Trina spent Christmas at the hospital with her dad. Sending
Oh, no.
thoughts and prayers your way, Trina. Colleen says, I love that scene in Lion King. Love, love, love. Bill says, I can't even hear the crafty panda sewing.
Okay, Bill.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
That's because I had to stop because of the needle came unthreaded. Oops.
How is the pandas coming along? Jen Littleton, thank you for subscribing. The pandas are coming slowly. I actually had I had a choice. I was either going to work on the pandas tonight or Mufasa. And since I had been already working on Mufasa today, I decided we were just going to continue
The vibe.
continue the momentum. Keep it going. But the pandas do need a bit of love, and I need to pull them out this weekend and give them some tender, loving care because they need to get put together. Somebody's anxious for their quilt, I'm sure.
Although I'm happy with the quilt that I'm using right now.
Oh, you're not taking that quilt.
I know I'm not taking it, but I'm using it right now. I love it.
Because it's stiff.
No, that and it's big.
Oh yeah, it is
It's
very
huge.
big.
It's bigger than my quilt that I made with you, with your pattern.
Oh yeah, the tumbling blocks.
Yep. And it's just perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, it's oversized.
Yeah, I sleep with 2 quilts on our bed and a down comforter in between. Kathy says, Becca, you have me hooked on making the no-sew Christmas ornaments. You're welcome for that. D4A7. Gulf Coast Urban Farm with Dolores. That is a mouthful. Thank you
my
for subscribing. Gulf Coast Urban Farm. Appreciate your subscription to the channel. Little subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, but means a whole lot to me. What do I have planned for 2024? Well, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I talked about this last year. New Year's resolutions to me are basically you saying, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to stop something else. And it feels very absolute and final to me.
Oops.
So I don't do them because I know I'm not going to follow through. But what I do try to do is set goals for myself. I'm not going to resolve that something will or will not happen because we don't know what curveballs life is going to throw our way. We don't know what plans the universe or God or whatever you believe in. We don't know what is out there for us in the next year. So rather than spending all that time planning and resolving that this will happen, I just set goals and I try to make them happen. And if I can't make them happen, then I roll with the punches. But my goals are fluid and they change as life changes for me. So right now, my goal for 2024, I have a goal for the channel, and that goal is to produce 1 how-to or tutorial video a month for all of 2024. It might be a quick tutorial, a quick, simple project. It might be a full-on quilt. It just depends on what my bandwidth is. It might be a tutorial for a pattern that I have written. It just depends. I watched your 2023 recap, Lily says. How do you find time for personal sews with a full-time job, family, and your channel? Did you find extra hours in a day? I'm going to cover all that on Tuesday, actually. And I've got some tools that you can use that I have made for you. You can pick up that will help you with all of that. But the bottom line is, I'll go into more detail on Tuesday, but the bottom line answer to your question, Lily, is organization. I have to keep myself organized and I have to have a plan. I have to know what my plan is. I try to make the most use out of my time, and I'll show you how I do that. When I come into my sewing room, I don't want to just come in here and sit and think about what I want to do or have to do. I want to come in and get to work. And then I also make sure to prioritize a little bit of time in my room each day. Even if it's only like 20 minutes, it's still something.
That's right.
You'll be amazed at how those little 20-minute sessions will really add up.
Yeah, that's like Nancy Zeman had a book about 5, 10, what is it, 10, 15, 10, 5 minutes to sew or something like that. 5, 10, 15 minutes to sew, and how you can get things accomplished in short periods of time.
Yep.
Yep.
Heather says, my only resolution is to write the correct year when I have to date something. That's a good resolution. I will resolve to do that too. By the way, the reason why I have this little 1.5 inch by 6.5 inch ruler is so that I can clean up my block. And I started doing this and didn't tell you what I was doing, so let me take the time to show you. Once my little template has all of my fabric attached to the back side of it, then it's going to be time to clean this up. And so for legit kits, most FPP templates are going to give you 2 lines. They're going to give you one line that is your sew line, and then about 1/4 inch away from it, around the perimeter of your piece, is your trim line. And Legit Kits identifies this with a thick gray border. So I need to clean this up on the outside of that thick gray border. So I use this ruler. I put the 1/4 inch mark on that line that's to the left of that gray border, and I just clean it up 6 inches at a time. You guys don't forget, in just a couple weeks on Martin Luther King Day, Tiffany and I are going to have a live stream where we're putting together the Elizabeth Hartman unicorn pattern. So you'll want to keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll have the live scheduled for that very soon. And then also, I believe next weekend on Saturday, Donna and I are going to resume the Sewology sew along. Remember, we took December off for Christmas and we were going to do month 3 in November, but we had to put that on hold with all the family events that have happened for her. So we will be picking that back up next week if you are sewing that with us. Okay. Now that all of these pieces are done, it's time to put them together into a block. Susan says, my problem with making a plan is I rebel and what I plan doesn't get done. I think that might be a problem that most of us have.
Yeah.
All right, this is block D4. And here is my assembly guide. So every time you have a block, a rectangle that is comprised of more than one piece, they give you instructions for how to lay them out and sew them together. Very, very detailed. So this is D4. This is a map of what it'll look like. These dark dotted lines are the seams that we're going to take, and they number those seams. This is the first one. This is the second one. This is the third one. But then they also list them over here and tell you exactly how to sew them. So I'm going to use this as my I'm going to use this as my map to lay my pieces out and start sewing them together. And this is the part where my acorn pen, clapper, and a hot iron are really going to help me because I want this block to be as flat as possible. All right, so D4A, we're just matching this to this. D4A is on the left, and then It's almost like a puzzle. D4G goes over here. H goes over here. Now these pieces are not going to line up perfectly right now because we have not taken our seam allowances at all. So it might not, the sides might not fit together like we would expect them to. Don't worry about that. It'll all come out in the end. D goes up here. C goes across the top. B goes here, so it's kind of like this. And then this is E. There we go. That's what we're going to put together. Cheryl says, my granddaughter told me the other day, Grandma, on December 31st, 2023, we will be saying 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do you get it? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I don't get that one.
John and Kelly says, my problem is that I keep forgetting how much time it actually takes for me to make something. I keep not allowing enough time. I have that problem too, but what I also have a problem with is forgetting how many things I have taken on. And the tools that I'm going to have for you in my video on Tuesday are going to help you be more aware of what it is that you have to do so that you can get yourself organized and get more quilts finished in 2024. Lori's asking, do you tear your paper out of your seam allowance before you sew and press your blocks together? I do it. Yes. Yeah, let me show you what I do. I might answer that question in just a moment. So the first step says to sew C to D. So these two I'm going to join together. I'm going to be careful to make sure that I keep those seams together. And then I'm going to take a couple of pins, and what I want to do is make sure that the points where the fabrics come together are lining up. And this is where I'm going to take my pin. So I'm going to take a pin and poke it through the back of the fabric, right on that 1/4 inch line, right on that seam. And then I'm going to look at it from the front and make sure that that pin came up exactly next to that seam. And then on the other piece, from the front side of the fabric, I'm going to put the sharp point through that intersection exactly where I need that fabric to line up. And then I'm going to kind of push the fabric in place so that the raw edges line up together. And I want to make sure that my pin is hanging straight down. I don't want it angled. I want it to be straight up and down. If there are any other points along this way, I want to do the same thing there and make sure that all of the pins are straight up and down. This is a relatively small seam, so I'm not going to worry about that. Once I have all of my pins in place, making sure that they're straight up and down, I'll come in with my Wonder Clips and I will secure around that point on either side, and I'll take the pin out. And then I will take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to start stitching on that seam line. And if I did everything correctly, my points should line up. In this case, they're pretty dang on close. We're going to keep it. If you are nervous about this point or this step and you're not sure if your pieces are going to line up, my tip to you is do all the pinning, do all the clipping, and then go to your sewing machine and sew with a big basting stitch. Make your stitch length as long as you possibly could. And then bring it over, open it up, and if everything looks good, take it back to your machine and stitch directly on that basting stitch with your smaller stitch allowance. And if you want to rip out the basting stitch as you go and you're replacing it with your shorter stitch length, you can absolutely do that too. That's actually what I do. So now I'm coming in, because I've joined these two pieces together, this paper is no longer needed in the seam. It's just going to add bulk, and I eventually want to take all the paper out anyway. So I'm going to pull the paper off of this seam, just like this. Because I use that 1 point whatever stitch length, these should come off really easy. And it kind of almost reminds me of clipping coupons back in the day when I was a kid. The perforation around the coupons. I used to love that. Then I do like to press, for the most part, my seams open. However, there is a caveat to that. Sometimes when I press the seam open, I'm actually creating more bulk than if I would have just let it go off to one side. And in those cases, and this is actually one of those cases, honestly, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fabrics all coming into this little point. And on this side, I just have 2. And if I fold this open, this is now going to be 8 pieces of fabric over here because all of that bulk is getting pushed over here. And while I could definitely make that work, it actually is going to be less bulk if I just push it down to this side. So you can press open if you want to, but if I have a really highly detailed point where a lot of fabrics are coming into play, I'm absolutely going to let it press off to one side and I'm not going to worry about it. Nobody's going to tear apart the quilt at the end of the day to make sure that all of my seams are pressed open. What I'm going for is trying to get the seams as flat as possible so I don't have as big of a headache with it on my long arm. So Joe Quilty Stitchy Thing says, I think organization is key to getting things done, but organization is different for everybody. I use a rotational system for my quilt tops, cross-stitching, knitting, and crochet items, and long arm. Yes, yes, yes.
You have to use the system that works best for you.
Absolutely. Put my hot iron on that, soak it up. Jan Briggs says, hello, Becca, catching you live. Finally, I love legit kits, but way too expensive for my budget. I usually slowly acquire fabric for a quilt, paying $300 all at once. I cannot do. Not sure this is like EPP anyway. No problem. You don't have to do this. But keep in mind, if this is something that you end up wanting to do, you can buy just the pattern and source your own fabric for it.
Or you can do the block of the month.
Yeah, except they don't have one for that you can sign up for right now. But you keep your
don't?
eyes peeled for the next one.
Yeah.
I am clipping the dog ears here just to keep things a little tidier. Now that that piece is done, I'll go back to my assembly guide. I'm going to mark that off just to keep myself organized. And now I'm going to look for number 2, which is right here. This is the seam going between D4CD, which is what we just made, and attaching B to it. So rinse, lather, repeat. Look for the points, pin it. So with Debbie says, the patterns are on my list to try. Hey, before you buy a kit, I believe they have a test block or a little mini quilt that you can download for free, a pattern that you can download for free and print off on your home printer to see if this is something that you like. I would highly, highly encourage you give that a try if you're thinking about jumping into the world of legit kits. In the case where you have a point here that you were trying to secure to a piece of fabric that only has this seam, what you're going to do is put that point of your pin right next to that seam. And on the back side, you're going to look to make sure that the sharp point of the pin came through on that 1/4 inch mark, that line that's around the perimeter of the block. And again, make sure that your pins are straight up and down. Block builder. Thank you, Donna. And we're going to put a clip on either side of that. Just like so. Take my 2 pins out and then we'll go sew. Just like that. Now I'm going to rip those pieces out of the seam allowance. They're no longer needed. I do leave the paper on the back of this until my block is sewn into the row, at which point then I'll take the paper off of the back. So I'm ripping the paper out of the back of my quilt as my quilt is being built. I'm not waiting until the very end. Would you say Legit Kits is easier than the other company that did the elephant? Are you talking about Violet Craft? I have not done Violet Craft's FPP pattern, so I can't answer that. I will tell you that I only dabbled with FPP before I got into the world of Legit Kits. And I honestly was very intimidated by I was intimidated by doing any FPP project where I had to join blocks. If the FPP project was all contained to a single piece of paper, I was confident I could do that, no problem. But if I had to create little segments and then join those segments together, forget about it. I didn't want to do it. I think Legit Kits is more intricate. There are more pieces to it, but there are some other benefits to the Legit Kits because there are no Y seams with Legit Kits, and all of your blocks, once they're built out, are uniform size. And I've heard that Violet Craft does have Y seams in hers. I don't think that one is better than the other. I think they're just a different experience. Lynn's So Imperfect says, hi, So Becca, just popping in to say Happy New Year to you and your family. Hello. Yes, Legit Kits, Linda does do it in rows, but the others are in pieces. Yes, that's right. Tracy says, I am moving at a slow pace on the Eagle Kit. Yep, that's okay. I am definitely a slow piecer when it comes to my Legit Kit projects, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I don't go as fast as others with them. I can't. I can't. I cannot sew at the speed of some of the testers that are out there. So for that purpose, I don't volunteer to test any of these because they usually want a very quick turnaround and I cannot meet that deadline. I just do them because I want to do them. All right. Now we're going to go to here. We just did that one. Now we're going to do seam number 3, which is joining E to the right side of all of that, right here. Donna says, I would say 100% more organized with Legit Kits, but Violet Craft has Y seams and you bring all your own fabric to the table as well as need to get photocopies of the pattern before you sew. Becca, you made the... Oh, I did. You're right, Janine. Thank you. Janine's reminding me that I made the Atomic Starburst pattern, which is a Violet Craft pattern.
That's right.
But that one is a combination of FPP and traditional piecing. So I wouldn't consider that a FPP, a Violet Craft FPP pattern, because you just did FPP blocks and worked that into a quilt that was put on point. I've not done her elephant, her cougar, none of those other ones, though I really want to do the unicorn. I just don't have the time or the budget to get that right now, so it'll be on my wish list to do one day. Janelle Vincent says, I love FPP. I love that you love FPP. Speaking of FPP, one of the things that I've been using FPP for is to make postcards, quilted postcards, because at the end of the project, your little quilt block comes out exactly the size that you need for your quilted postcard. And I've got a variety of those available in my pattern shop, which you can check out on my website. If you go to my website, underneath shop, it'll say patterns. And when you click on that, it'll take you to my Etsy store, which is where I have moved all of my patterns. They are now on Etsy. It's just easier for me administratively to have my items hosted on the Etsy platform rather than on my own website. And it also gets those patterns in front of other people that might not know I have a YouTube channel, may not even know I exist. So they're over in my Etsy shop right now. Feel free to go check those out. And don't forget that if you are a member of my VIP program, you get all of my patterns for free on my website under the VIP pattern library. Rhonda says, hello from Missouri, MS. Is that Missouri or is that Mississippi?
Missouri, Mississippi. MS is Mississippi.
Okay. Hello from Mississippi.
I didn't know there was a Missouri, Mississippi.
She said, I am working on the Hemingway pouch that you demonstrated. Awesome. I have also gotten, by the way, I love Center Street quilts. I've been following them for years. They make the most adorable little FPP blocks. Love them, love them, love them, love them. So if you are into FPP, you'll want to check them out for those too. But now she started doing these bag patterns and they are so fun. So I did the Hemingway pouch about a gazillion times and loved it. And then I bought the Holland pouch, which is like a toiletry bag. It's boxy. That one's easy to do too. A little bit more time consuming, but still really easy. And I think in the near future, don't quote me on date, but I do have it in my book to do a step-by-step video tutorial for that as well.
There was a lot of people on your Facebook group that posted pictures of their Hemingway pouches and the other one, the little laptop bag that you made. Yeah.
Yep. Becca, do you EPP? I've never done EPP, but it is on my bucket list to try. This piece of paper here is kind of falling off, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it take it off because it's just going to cause me a headache when I join my blocks together later. Coolio. Katy said, I haven't seen anyone use Coolio in a long time. I should use that word more often. All right, the next section is to join. I'm going to guess probably F. Yep, I was right.
Katy with an E.
No, Greenland Katy.
Greenland
Yep.
Katy.
It is really easy to do, Fallon. I'm just saying. Lily says, I have a question for all the content creators. How do you decide what to demonstrate? I've searched high and low for a popular cave pattern, but it doesn't seem like anyone has it. If there's a pattern that you have that you would like to see demonstrated in a video, I would say send it out put it out into the universe. Because from my standpoint, I'm going to make videos that I think people want to watch, right? And so I pay attention to my analytics and what projects are trending. Because if I'm going to make a video, I don't want to make a video that nobody wants to watch. I want to make a video that's going to perform well. So I pay attention to my analytics and what's trending. But if there's something out there that you're looking for and you would like to see somebody do, let that content creator know, or let a few of them know. And if it's a project that they want to do, maybe they'll take it on. Sometimes getting these points pinned just right can be a bit of a pain, but I have big plans for this quilt, and so I'm taking the time to pin this sucker. You'll be fine, Katy. She says, I'm thinking Ursula Major is going to scare me half to death. I think you will be just fine.
That was the first one you did, right?
Ursula Minor.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
I did the small one.
Yep.
Just the baby bear.
Oh, that's right. And Katy's going to do the big one.
She has to think. Some creators, oh yeah, some some pattern writers have a pattern and they don't want you to make a video on that, but I don't actually know that can be enforced as long as you're not giving the pattern away. Right? Like, yes. I would never give the fabric requirements or the cutting instructions from a pattern, because then there is absolutely no reason for you to buy that pattern. But I can walk you through with my tips and tricks on how I put that quilt together, and I can show you what the assembly looks like if I'm taking very careful care to not show you the measurements, because that's the math. That's why we all buy quilt patterns. It's for the quilt math that we don't want to do. Am I wrong?
Nope.
That's why I buy a pattern. I don't want to do the quilt math. And
Well,
also it serves as inspiration for me for later.
Yep. I buy quilt patterns because I want somebody to tell me step by step what to do. And that's not always the case in patterns. But also for the quilt math.
Have you seen the FPP patterns from Sassafras Lane? I made the Arcadia Avenue quilt. I'm still quilting it, and I want to start the Empire Place quilt. Very Art Deco style. No, I'll have to check that out. Lily says, okay, Becca, thank you. Okay, content creators, sending out a challenge or maybe a plea. Somebody do a video on Kate's Midnight Diamond pattern, please. All right.
That's getting it out there, Lily.
That's one way to get it out there. We've got a few content creators in the chat. Let's see who jumps to that challenge. First one to get the video tutorial out wins. Bragging rights. Also, the reason why there might not be a video tutorial isn't necessarily that you're not allowed. It could very well be that there just is so many patterns and there's not enough content creators, believe it or not, to make a video tutorial for every single pattern that's out there. Slow and steady wins the race.
That's right.
Candy says, yup, for sure, when we don't feel like doing the math, the quilt math.
I don't like doing any kind of math.
I actually love math.
I
So,
hate math.
I think that's why, like, I like numbers. I like math because there's always an answer.
Yeah.
There's always a right answer, and it's only that answer. There's no, oh, but this could also, no, there's always one right answer. 2 plus 2 is always 4.
But I'm a problem solver. I like to problem solve.
I like to problem solve too, but
Yeah.
I do like math.
Yeah.
It's just, I got really excited about math when I was in school. I remember the year that I took algebra. I was so excited to be able to take algebra, and I got like, I loved algebra. We would do classwork, and then we would have homework assigned that we would have to do at home. And I would take it home, and I would take my class notes and my classwork, and I would copy it into another notebook to make it nice and neat.
Pretty.
And color code it, like color code the ink, color code the highlighter, all the things.
Yep.
Oh, loved it. I loved it. And then I got really excited because I understood variables and how letters were just taking places of numbers. And I felt, please forgive me, but I felt smart because there were kids in my class that were racking their brain and they could not get it. And I was like, oh, this is something I'm good at. So it was a bit of a confidence booster for me because I found something that I was good at.
Yep. Math and science, not my forte.
Math and science was my forte.
Well, that's one of the many places that we differ.
But I also did like a lot of the creative stuff too. Like I loved music.
Yep.
I am what I call a non-practicing musician. I have not played well, that's not true. I actually picked up my daughter's saxophone last weekend. So I'll talk about that in a moment. But I am a non-practicing musician because I don't actively play anymore, but I have been trained all the way through college. And I loved that. But I had a problem with, believe it or not, I had a problem with things that required me to create creativeness out of nothing. Like
Yeah.
if you wanted me in wood shop, if I was supposed to, I did take wood shop. If I was supposed to build a bookshelf, I could build a bookshelf because I knew what I was building. And I could even figure out how to do it on my own. But if you told me to take the wood and build something, I would look at you with a blank stare because I
Yeah.
have no idea where to even start, what I should even do. And I would be overwhelmed and completely paralyzed with all of the ideas of things that I could do.
And now look what you do.
I know.
It's amazing.
You just lean into that
That's
sometimes,
right.
right?
Exactly.
All right. That was adding F. Now I'm going to add G. I'm going to sew G and H together, which are these two down here. The Gen X Quilt Co. says, I was so bad at math, a teacher told me not to go into a job that has math in it. So I became a paramedic. Math at 70 miles an hour on the way to the hospital. Well, I mean, like, I think that's the same thing that Mary pointed out, right? Like,
Yep.
I couldn't dream up things. I couldn't be creative, but now I play with fabric and I get excited about the what if and all those other things. And as a kid, that was something that I did not excel at.
Intimidated you.
It intimidated. That's a really good word. It's not that I didn't have the capability. It's that I didn't have the confidence to do it.
Exactly.
I think we all have things that we're good at in areas where we're a little weaker.
Yeah.
And that's what makes having a community so great, right?
Yep.
Like things that I'm not so good at, Mary is awesome at, and that compliments me.
Yeah.
And things that she's maybe not so great at, I might be really good at, and that compliments her.
Yep.
So I just like that. I think that's absolutely, I think it's lovely when you have that yin and yang in a friendship.
Yep. We've discovered our differences and we've discovered our likenesses. Little by little.
But you can have differences in a relationship
Exactly.
and still get along just fine.
Yep.
And even like the differences are not necessarily
Minuscule.
yeah, well, but they're not necessarily even differences, right? They're just
Likes and dislikes.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you prefer a certain type of movie. I like those movies too, but they're not my favorite. They're not my
Right.
go-to. But I will watch them.
Yep.
But you
That's
know,
like me. I'll watch something that even if it's something I don't like,
mhm,
but it's not my preferred. It's not my go-to. Kind
Right.
of thing. So.
that's one of the other things that I think is important about having a relationship, friendship, husband, wife, wife, whatever the case may be, right? I think one of the other important things about a relationship is being able to compromise and do things that are important to that other person.
Right.
For example, I have no interest in stabbing people with a fencing sword. None.
Why
None.
not?
I mean, maybe at face value, it sounds fun to chase people with a pointy object. Maybe, I don't know. But my husband loves it. And he's really into it. And I am so happy that he's found a passion and he loves doing it, that I want to do things to support that, right?
Yep.
Just like he wants to do things to support my quilting stuff, to borrow Tiffany's channel name, My Quilting Life, right?
Yep.
So he does things to support my quilting hobbies, but I want to support his fencing hobby. So the second weekend in January, I think it's a Saturday actually, so it's a good thing that we're going to Harrisonburg on the 6th.
Uh-huh.
The second weekend in January, there is a fencing show in Fredericksburg that he wants to go to. So
Oh.
I told him I would go with him. And his birthday's in February. So I
Yeah.
told him for his birthday, I will help him buy some equipment because he's been wanting to buy some more equipment. He's borrowing some stuff from his fencing club, whatever, guild, whatever you would call
Whatever
that.
you call it.
Yeah, he's been borrowing some of their gear and he's really eager to get his own. So I told him I would help him buy some gear from the fencing show. So
Oh, that's
I'll be going with him.
awesome.
But that's a way that I can support him and show him that he is important to me, and the
Right.
things that he likes doing are important to me.
Yeah. Plus, you don't have to come and help me direct the moving trucks.
Yeah, so Mary is actually moving. You want to give them your date since
Yep.
you just kind of teased it?
Yep. I am, well, I'm going to closing on my house on Thursday, January 4th. I'm signing my side of the closing documents anyway. The buyer will sign on the 5th. And then on the 13th or the 14th, they haven't given me a committed date yet, but the 13th or the 14th, the moving company is coming to load my stuff up into the truck, and we'll get it on its way to South Carolina. Then on the 15th, early in the morning, bright and early in the morning, I'm leaving for South Carolina because my settlement for my new house is at 11 a.m. on the 16th, and the builder wants me to come and do my walkthrough and sign some papers and stuff the afternoon before. They said I need to spend an hour and a half there, so I have to get up really early in the morning on the 15th and head down to South Carolina. So I will be saying goodbye to my bestest friend in the whole wide world for a month or so, because I'll
See me at QuiltCon.
see her at QuiltCon, and then I've made promises that I will come up and visit on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
I'll check with her first to find out what her schedule is. I don't want to interfere with any of her plans or family commitments and things like that, but I'll check in with her and come up and visit and stay for a little while, and then go back and resume my life in South Carolina.
Resume my life. So funny. Resume my life. Yeah, and if you haven't noticed or haven't pieced it together, Mary did over the holidays come out, and she is now staying with us until it's time for her to depart the Virginia area. It's just easier because all of her stuff is packed up in boxes over there, and she doesn't have to worry about unloading everything. She just has just the bare essentials here.
Yep.
And it gives her a little bit of time to be part of our home before she leaves for a while.
Yep. And I have to say that this year was the best Christmas I've had in a very long time. And because Becca and her family have opened up their home and their life to me, and something I really, really appreciated, and spending time with the family that all loves each other and all cares about each other, and it meant the world to me. So
Great. Now we just need to make Ian a part of that next
that's
year.
right.
Laura says, I hope this is not a repeat question. How did you and Mary meet? Do you want to take that one?
Sure. I had followed Becca on YouTube for a couple of years, I think, and I just loved her content. I loved her relatability, and the way that she talks to her audience and includes them in her lives, and in her, I just like the way she ran her YouTube channel and everything. And so I reached out to her a couple of times in the chat, I think, and then we started I think texting back and forth and something, and then I came over one Saturday, and Mint was just coming over for a visit to meet her for the first time. It ended up being here for like 8 hours that day.
Oh, it was 12. It was 12.
Was it 12?
It was 12.
And before we knew it, we just became really good friends. And so
I think at one point you were like, I've only known you in person for 3 months, and I was like, really?
Really? I know, because it just happened so quickly, and we just connected so well. And I really I'm thankful for my friendship, and that's the only thing that I'm going to miss about Virginia.
Aww.
Is not being down, an hour away from her, where I could come and spend time with her.
But it just, somebody typed in the chat, this is just an opportunity for more sleepovers.
Exactly. And we've already, talked about what that's going to look like, and we're going to do our best because we haven't had a long distance relationship before. We've only had a in-person one, and so and I'm not a big communicator, so this is going to be my opportunity to grow my communication skills and help our friendship still blossom.
Aw.
So I'm excited and scared and
Excited. Well, Mary, I think because of our relationship, you already have exposure to people that live in that area.
right.
So I think you're going to move down there and you're going to find you're going to have your own little quilting community and you don't even realize it.
I know. And I mean, I already have, looked into what quilting guilds down that way. And, you know, but I want to kind of branch out and do some other things too, not just quilting. So, I don't know what that will look like yet, but we'll see. But, I just want to get away from Virginia and the cold weather, even though it hasn't really been that cold here
walk
recently.
outside today.
I know.
Phew.
I'm ready to move south and look forward to the next chapter in my life, which hopefully will be retirement in 4 or 5 years. So
That's awesome.
where I can spend time doing what I want to do and not what I have to do. to
What
pay
is the
bills.
story behind the Bubba view? Oh, I need to hide those words. So overhead. So Becca, Bubba is the name of my Juki. So this is Bubba view. I really should hide those words because that's a kind of inside thing. Paula says, I love your lion. A few folks I do see your comments and compliments. Thank you for that. It's sometimes hard for me to take a compliment. So
Yep.
I will just read it and we're just going to repeat the words. But essentially the message that they're saying is I am as nice in person as I seem on YouTube. So
Yes,
thank
she
you for
is.
those. I try to be authentic. I don't want to come across as phony or something other than what I am. And I really do. I know enough about myself to know that I get really excited about teaching people things. And sometimes that can come across as me being bossy or pushy. And I don't mean it to be that way at all. So if that ever comes across that way, please know that that was not my intention. And feel free to check me on it. And I will take a step back because it hurts my heart when I hear somebody say that's how I came across, because that's not what I mean. That is not my intention.
Nope.
So I try really hard to come across authentic and I don't want to come across as though I'm better than anybody else.
Nope. And Becca is a very authentic person. What you see on camera is exactly how she is. So, and that's very important to me because I don't like people that are fake or put on a pretense. And so I think that was the attraction for me. So,
Guess who Nancy says, Becca, I'm the same way.
yep.
Danelle says, my Juki is named Bertha.
I need a name for my Juki. I haven't figured it out yet.
Bill says, don't hide Bubba under a basket. She's special.
I still think that's funny that Bubba's a girl.
People are saying nobody puts Bubba in a corner. We want Bubba to stay. Do not take him away.
No, Bubba's going nowhere.
Ian says he also has a hard time taking a compliment, right?
Yep.
Those are hard.
Yeah. I have that same issue. So,
well, you know why I think that is, and I don't know if I'm right, but this is just my thought. Take it for what it's worth.
mm-hmm.
I think when we're growing up, we are taught to minimize our worth, to deflect, and to be humble. And one of the ways that you do that is by always pointing out ways that you could be better, ways that you could improve, ways that you suck. And so when somebody says, oh, you're good, you're like, wait, what? I don't know. I wonder if it's even that way when you have a job, right?
Yep.
Think about it. Like, If you do everything perfect at your job, and I know this from experience,
Yep.
if you did everything great and you went above and beyond and you gave 150%,
There's no room for improvement.
you're not going to get a 5-star review. They're going to give you a 3 or 5, and then they're going to tell you the reason why they do that is because there's always room for growth.
That's right.
Well, I believe that, but I gave 150%, and you're telling me that I still suck.
Yeah, I hate filling out those stupid performance reviews things.
Because they know what they're going to give you.
Yep.
Come on. They are recommended at my employer. And so they tell you every year, this is your time to fill out your self-appraisal. You should do it. You should do it. It'll help. And every year I'm just like, bah. It's not going to get me anything extra. So, I'm good. Thanks.
I'm glad I work for a small company and I don't have to deal with this anymore.
Oh, jeez. Penny McRobert just subscribed. Thank you, Penny.
Yay!
Becca, do you ever get to California? I have never been to California, and you can ask Tiffany.
One day.
It is on my bucket list. Every time I talk to her, every time I go out to Vegas, I do make it a point to spend time out there so that I can get with Tiffany. And every time that I do, I'm like, ooh, we should go over to California. And we never do. But I want to. I really want to.
I've been
One
to LA for
Oh,
overnight, but that was it.
I wanted, yes. I
Santa
don't know-
Monica, actually.
I don't know if I want LA because I don't think I'd like the people there.
Oh, but it's nice. I mean, there's lots to see in LA.
Listen, I'm a big girl and I'm afraid I will be body shamed, okay?
Oh, okay.
I'll just put it
Well,
out there.
that's true. In LA, all those people are like tan and thin and it's just not good.
Colleen says, hey, off-kilter crafter Ian. Seems to me I enjoyed your episode at a quilt festival. Did you do a walkthrough at Houston? I want to go to Disneyland with you, Becca. We would run them. Oh my gosh, let's do it.
Disneyland, yeah.
Disneyland. We can bring Mary into that too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I love anything
Yes.
Disney.
All right, here we go. This is block D4, and it looks like a mess, but it is. This is the way it is supposed to look, except it's upside down. That's better. So now that this is done, I have a folder for each row that I'm working on in the quilt, and I'm just going to put it in row D, and I'm going to move on to my next block. I've got 3 more blocks in this row that I need to put together. These 3, and they're each multiple pages. I'm going to work on this one first because this one looks like the least amount of pieces. Amy says, I drove the whole California coast. It was beautiful. Somebody did ask me a while ago, and I can't remember who it was, but you know who you were. They asked how long have I had a YouTube channel. I actually created my channel in 2010. But all it was is a place for me to upload videos of my daughter. Maybe it was 2011. It was just a place for me to upload cute little baby videos to share them with my family. And that's all I did. And then I think it was 2018 or 2019. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember it was around November, December timeframe. I started uploading more content and trying to get serious about really building a YouTube channel. And I never thought I'd be sitting here with just shy of 25,000 subscribers. I was excited when I hit 1,000. I was like, there's 1,000 people that are interested in what I have to say. What? And now it's just given me the gumption to have a bigger dream. I want 100,000.
We're going to get you there.
I want the plaque.
Or you could be like me and just have a YouTube channel to just subscribe to everybody else.
All right, I'm going to show you one of my tips and tricks for this. So we're going to just come in a little bit tight right here. See if I can go to just the overhead focus. right here. So this might give you a little bit closer view. And the reason why I'm doing this,
Is that Ian?
yeah, there's a video that Ian's referencing.
Uh-oh.
It's I've got to find it, and I should just play it on a live stream because it's hilarious. You know what I'll do? I'll find the video and I'll put it in the Facebook group.
There you
'cause
go.
it's freaking funny. Okay, so this is the layout for the Legit Lion, and it tells you the map for all of your blocks. Across the top are your column numbers, and down the side are your row letters. And so each one of your blocks is named A1 or B, whatever. Like it starts with the row number and then the column number, or the row letter and then the column number. So that's how you map out your blocks. Think of it like an Excel spreadsheet. That's what I do. One of the things that I'm doing with this lion is surgically removing pieces of color that I don't think fit. And the one part that I'm doing is all of this background has been removed. I don't want it green. I want it black, as you can see behind me. So every time I start a block, I'm looking to see what's in that block on this map and what I need to remove. But there's also a couple other things. Like there's some green in the lion's face that I just don't think works. And I want to replace it with that shade, but in a brown or a gray. And so I'm looking for those as I'm putting my blocks together and making note of what those color mappings are. So as I pull out my block, in this case, I'm going to be working on D7. I'm looking here to make sure that there's none of that background green. There's not. And then I'm looking at the individual colors that are in here to make sure that there's none of the other greens that I don't want, like this one or this one. They're not in there. This is all whites and yellows and oranges, so I'm going to be good. But if there was one, what I would do is come in here and make a note of that in that section. So for example, if I wanted to replace TC with something else, I would put an X inside the circle where the number 4 is, because that's my visual indicator that I'm going to swap that color. And then somewhere out here in big letters, I'm going to write the color that I'm swapping it with. And I'm going to do that on all of my pieces before I start sewing. That way, when it's time to start pulling fabric and just attaching it to the paper, I have my map laid out in front of me. I've done all of the work. I can just sew. Hope that helps. And by the way, I know a few people were asking, will you share what your color swapping is? Yes, I'm keeping a key of this. And so when the quilt is all done, I will post this in my recap. So if you want to make it similarly, you want to surgically remove the green, you will be able to do that.
Did you pre-plan did you mark up your pieces ahead of time, or are you just doing it as
I'm doing it as I go.
Oh, okay.
Block by block. Quilting Compound is trying for 10,000 subscribers. Awesome. So with Debbie says, I just hit 100 today. Woohoo. Let's do this. Let's do this, guys. If you have a YouTube channel, whether it has 1 subscriber or 1 million subscribers, I don't care who you are, you have a chance to get a few more subscribers. So I've got some mods in the chat who are going to absolutely help me out with this. I love giving you a chance to promote yourself. Put a heart emoji, just a heart emoji in the chat if you have a YouTube channel. And what my moderators will do is they'll grab the link to your channel and they'll put it in the chat. And then what I would ask everybody else that's watching the live stream, or maybe you're watching the replay, you can open up the live chat to see this portion. It does take a couple days for the live chat to process. So if it's not there right away Saturday morning, please be patient. But if you open it up, you'll see all of those links there. And then you can hop over, click on those links, hop over, and just watch and see what people are doing over there. And if you like the personality, if you like the content that they're doing, the best way you can thank them is subscribing to their channel. And speaking of subscribing to the channel, thank you, Tamara, for subscribing. And there we go. We've got hearts coming and people are going to start giving you links. Thank you, Ian, for doing that. Ian's like, oh, hold on. I got to get over to the computer.
I know I can't do it on my
Oh,
phone.
Katie's helping. Tiffany's helping. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of you. Melinda says, SoCal native here. Only fake people are tan, 365, and Barbie skinny in LA. Oh, sweet. Then I won't be body shamed. I can go.
There's nothing better than a California sunset.
I've never seen a California sunset.
I did over the
there's
Pacific
that.
Ocean in Santa Monica.
1MT.
Although
G7.
Tiffany might check me on that one because she has some beautiful sunsets
She does.
in Arizona too.
She does. And she got her long arm finally fixed too.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah,
That's
she
awesome.
said it's up and running like new.
Awesome.
And I have, if you could please remind me, Mary,
Yep.
I have got to send her a backing for a quilt that she has of mine.
Oh, okay.
That she's been asking me to send her for months, and I'm not exaggerating.
We'll get that out to her.
Yeah, I know exactly the one I want to buy. I just got to
leave
buy it
here.
in Etsy and have it shipped to her house. I just haven't done it.
Oh, okay.
Phew, it's a problem.
We'll get that done.
Yeah. We do have a little bit of time for some show and tell tonight. So if you want to share with the world what you are working on, feel free to post a picture to the Facebook group. And once I'm kind of wrapped up here a little bit, we'll hop over there and we'll take a look at some of the things that you guys have been working on. Maybe you want to share a Christmas gift. Take a picture of that and put it up there. Somebody should put in Kathy's Quilts and Crafts link. She only has 20 some away from 500. If somebody could grab her link and drop it in the chat, I would appreciate that. Thank you. You'll have to go out and search for it, though, because I don't think she's in the chat. Lori says, there is a retreat center in Temecula, a short drive from Disneyland, and you could, you could combine your love of quilting at Disney. Listen, did somebody say host a sewing retreat outside of Disneyland? Ian, we got to do this. One day at Disneyland, and then days 2, 3, and 4 sewing, and then day 5 at Disneyland. Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm done. Let's go.
2025. Here
Who
we
would
come.
be interested? If we did that, like, who would be interested? Who would go? Like, seriously, who would go?
I would.
Yeah, okay.
I
So we
would.
got 3 because I know Ian's right up there.
Yep.
I bet Tiffany would go too.
Yeah, 'cause she's so close to it.
Mm-hmm. Ian said, "Oh my gosh, yes." See, I already knew. You didn't even have to. Like, you didn't even have to answer. I already knew your answer, buddy. Susan said, me. Lori says, I would go. Candace would. I love to sew would. Karen would. Linda says, SoCal native with skinny tan daughters. They're super sweet and tan because they're half Mexican and Japanese. Oh, and they live in LA. Not all girls are bad. They look nothing like me. LOL. Michelle says in 2025 or 2026, I'd be in. Oh, listen, it would not be a 2024 thing. I would need like 2 years to plan it. I'm not kidding.
Yep, for vacation part and for work and then for the funding.
Yep. Pam Hauser says it's 30 minutes for me. Oh, Tiff, we'll get you there. You'll go anyway. Even if you just drive in.
Even if we have to come and pick you up and drive you there ourselves.
She's nervous about retreats. Well, she'll share about
Really?
that when we, yeah, she doesn't travel well.
Oh.
This her trip up here to visit me is kind of a test.
Oh.
Because she doesn't travel well at all. She's going to see how her body can take it.
There you go. Well, at least she's willing to give it a try.
Absolutely.
Yep.
VR says, if I can afford it, I will. Listen, I would not be doing this to get rich off of the retreat. It would be like, listen, let's just divide the cost.
Just for the experience.
Just for the experience. The retreat center is $3,000. Okay, we have 10 people going. Great, $300
$300 a piece.
Let's just divide it up. Although I probably would work my plane ticket into it, so I'm just saying, y'all would pay for my plane ticket.
How many people does the retreat center fit?
I don't know. I don't know.
Does the person that suggested it? Maybe she knows.
Ian texted me, said, overhead camera's out of focus, and then immediately said, well, never mind, it fixed itself.
Thanks, Ian. He is
He's
on the
top
ball.
of it. He is.
As always.
He's a good guy.
Yep.
I sent him a little package. Little. So they have these, and I think, I can't remember, I think it was Day. I think she had mentioned it. Somebody on one of Donna's Zoom calls had mentioned that they bought their daughter-in-laws these Taylor Swift little golden books from Walmart, and apparently they are all the rage this year. And everybody's trying to get them, and like Walmart is sold out of them and all the things. And so I was like, wait a minute, there's a little golden book about Taylor Swift. So I went and looked on Amazon. There's a whole documentary series of little golden books. Well, for those of you that don't know Ian very well, he used to work at a library, and I thought it would be really cute to pick out some celebrities and historical figures that I knew he was really into and get their little documentary books and ship them to him. So I got him about 6 little golden books from the documentary series, of which Taylor Swift was one, and sent them to him. And here's what the hilarious was. 6 little golden books. You guys know these books. They are small. They are thin. They are nowhere near big enough to put, like, you put all of them in an Amazon box and you're still going to have lots of room. So please tell me why he had like 4 boxes with these books. Like,
not just boxes, big
like,
boxes.
4 large box, not huge,
Not big
but
boxes,
like this
but big
by,
boxes.
like,
Big small
and one
boxes.
of them had 1 book in it. They could have put all of those in a poly mailer or a bubble mailer. Like, why were they even in a box?
Ian probably thought he got to hit the jackpot or something.
He took a picture of the pile of boxes outside the door. He was like, what did you send me? And I just wrote back, I said, just a little something. He was like, okay, this is not little. And then he opened it. I was like, do you get it? Little golden books? He's like, oh yeah. So that was a lot of fun. 4 big boxes. It was, the retreat center can sleep 83 people. Listen.
Oh, that's too many people.
I don't know if I can fill 83 people. I might get 8.
We could probably get 20, at least 25.
What's the minimum? How many do I have to have? Because that's what I need to know. Because I ain't getting 83 people. I can guarantee that.
Not gonna happen.
I would never have 80. Like, it's not because I wouldn't want them. It's because I don't think I have that many people that would go.
Oh. Might be surprised.
So with Debbie says, wow, 83 at a retreat center. Ours maxes out at 27. Mary says they probably came from different warehouses. VR says 83 is a lot for a retreat. I think so too. What's the minimum?
Although we used to have 100 people at our retreats in my guild, so
Yeah, M. Smith says true, but they probably came from different areas. Maybe.
yep.
Maybe. That who knows? It's just funny. Oh, wow. Hold on. Pamela says you have 518 people watching right now. I have 518 people watching?
Whoa.
Holy cow. Thank you.
That's awesome.
You all love me.
She's relatable. Told you, she's relatable.
Aw.
People love her.
You're going to make me cry. I have 500 people watching me. Listen, you don't know this, but I strategically set up all of my windows so I don't see how many people are watching. Because I'm terrified that I've been doing this for how long? And I'm still terrified that I'm going to hit the go live button and 2 people are going to show up. And I don't want to be disappointed when there's only 2 people. So I'm like, you know what? If I don't look at the numbers, then it doesn't become a competition and I can just enjoy the live stream and I just talk. And then it takes all of the pressure out of it. So
Yep.
that's
And the rest of us look at the numbers.
the rest of you look at the numbers. Usually later, like the next day, Mary will be like, oh, you had this many. I'm like, I did. I usually don't look at it.
Yep, she doesn't. She gets to get surprised.
Yep. I was surprised last week because there was almost 700.
Yep.
When we went back and looked, I went, holy cow. Y'all showed up for that party. By the way, if you won one of those gifts, those are all in the mail, and I have emailed you your tracking numbers so you know who you are. And hopefully you'll be getting those packages this coming week. Oh, Ian, you gonna make me blush.
Oh.
He said, that's because you were so awesome, so Becca. Oh. Tamaluka. Temecula. Okay, Temecula. Okay. That word.
Whoops.
We're just going to
Go
call
back.
it ta-da.
What?
We're going to go to ta-da, California.
Ta-da!
Temecula. I'm going to butcher it again. Don't worry. Just like Nevada.
And La Plata.
Nevada. I think I was calling it Nevada. And I think they say Nevada.
it's
but now
Nevada.
I've got it backwards.
It's Nevada.
Well, all I know is whatever way I was saying it, Tiancum over it. So yeah, was like, yeah, so Becca always says it this way. And I was like, because that's how you say it. And he pointed out that that's not how you say it. And I was like, oh.
The locals don't like it.
The locals don't like it that way. I was like, oh, okay. Sounds good. Sorry. That's where your dialects come in.
Yep.
Just where I grew up in Michigan, I swear to you, the Potomac, I swear to you that I heard somewhere it was the Potomac. I swear it was. I swear I learned it that way.
Somebody told you wrong.
Oh my gosh. So I moved here. Well, I lived in Southern Virginia for a couple of years, and then I moved to Northern Virginia. And Jason and I are in the car and we're going to the movies one night. And this movie theater was in a strip mall called the Potomac Yards. It's in Alexandria.
Oh, I know that is.
And we pulled up and I was trying to find the theater. So I was like, where is it? And he was like, I was like, oh, I see it. It's up there. And I said, and he's like, where? I was like, it's at Potomac Yards. And he stopped and looked at me and he said, what? I said, Potomac. And he said, babe, that's not Potomac. That's Potomac. And I was like, oh. And so, so I corrected it and I learned it, but we've been married for 15 years now. And do you know, he still doesn't let me live that down. Like literally, if you ever meet us, if you ever see us somewhere, just ask Jason if I still call it the Potomac. Swear to you. Swear on my husband's life. And he thinks it's the most hilarious thing too. He'll stop and just laugh. He'll be like, oh.
Well, as native Virginians, I can understand that.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, it does look like Potomac, so I could understand that.
Pamela says people pronounce Cincinnati Cincinnati. Not sure where the A at the end came from.
Yeah,
Either.
there's
It's
no
Cincinnati. Cincinnati, duh. Hello, Susan Munger, who's just joining the chat. Shelby says, I'm busy cleaning, so primarily listening, but I would love to come to a retreat in Temecula. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Oh my goodness. You know what my problem is when I mispronounce a word?
What?
I get it all wrapped in my head.
And then
So-
you can't remember which way it's
Yes!
supposed to be.
Yes, because I was like, oh, I pronounced that wrong. And so when I go to say it again, I remember the way somebody told me to say it, but I also remember the way that I said it. And now I can't remember which one of them was right. Like Appalachian.
Yep.
When I moved, I lived in Southwest Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first moved down there, I was calling them the Appalachian Mountains. They do not like that.
No, it's Appalachia.
It is Appalachia. And I had a hard time for a very long time remembering to say Appalachia. And how I tricked myself, this is so stupid. I tricked myself into remembering it was Appalachia because I had to remember it had the church sound in it, and it was the church sound because it's the Bible Belt.
Oh.
So I was like, church, Appalachia, Appalachia.
And Southern people are real funny about how you say certain things.
Oh
too.
yes, oh yes. The city when I lived in Southwest Virginia, I lived in Abingdon,
Yep.
but I worked in a little town in Russell County, and it's spelled Lebanon. Everybody knows the country that's spelled that way, and we pronounce it Lebanon.
Yep.
But down there, you do not pronounce it Lebanon. You will get very funny looks. It's Lebanon.
Yep.
Lebanon. That's
Lebanon.
how you pronounce it.
Lebanon.
And like they have, there's Daint Peak, but it's spelled Dante, which is Dante to me. But you don't say Dante, you say Daint.
Oh, what is here?
Renee says, I mispronounce so many words because I learned so many through reading, not by hearing them.
Yep.
That's a good point. Maybe I learned Potomac by reading, not by listening. Oh, shoot.
Oh, Lordy.
Can you please move your nice water cup? I cannot see what it is you're doing. Sure. Is
Absolutely.
it? Okay. I'm sorry. I
Not a problem.
didn't realize it was in
all.
your way. Linda says, our company Christmas party has been in Temecula for the last 4 years. I'm only 40 minutes away.
Oh.
Quilting Compound says that's how we pronounce Lebanon. Cool. Pam said, it made me laugh. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. Laugh at my expense. Listen, you want to hear another funny story?
Uh-oh.
This is another laugh that they had at my expense. Spousal abuse. Anywho, my husband has this best friend that he's known this guy for years and years and years. He's military, like career military. He's been in forever. He's going to retire from the Navy. It's just, he keeps re-upping. And during some stint, he had to come to Dahlgreen for training. And so every weekend he would come into Arlington and stay with us. Well, one day we were out driving around. We were scoping out my stepson's new school, which happened to be over by Mount Vernon in Alexandria. And so while we were out there, we saw the signs for Mount Vernon, and I happened to drive past the entrance. And I was just making a comment. I was driving. My husband was in the back seat with my stepson. Dave was in the front seat. And I said, oh, there's Mount Vernon. I've always wanted to go there. And Dave just turns and looks at me and goes, well, there you go. And Jason thought it was hilarious, doubled over in laughter in the back seat. Dave's laughing, and I'm like, I don't get the joke. I don't get the joke. They're like, you're here. You win. I'm like, To this day, he thinks it's hilarious.
I think he told me that story
Oh,
too.
probably did. He probably did. You passed through Sevierville on the way, Sevierville.
Sevierville.
No, Sevierville. Yeah. I always pronounce that one wrong because I didn't live close enough to that part of Tennessee, but I did work with people who drove in from there to work where I worked. And I remember I had a hard time remembering how to pronounce it. I think I called it Sevierville and it was Sevierville. I think that was right. Lebanon is 30 minutes from my home, and it's pronounced Lebanon. That's right. Lebanon. Some of my close friends went to school in Lebanon. In fact, my new kid's friend, Karen, is from Lebanon. Born and raised. She now lives in Lynchburg.
Oh, I didn't really.
And Danelle said, okay, I lied. I'm back. TC. I'm just going to put one more piece on, and then we'll take a look over at the Facebook group, and we'll call it a night.
Sounds like a
Actually, you know what?
plan.
We're just going to stop and go look at the Facebook group because we can. Plus, my overhead camera is apparently out of focus again. Come on, dude. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going. We're going and we're here. Yay! Let me refresh the screen and see what you guys have been working on. Oh, I say Oregon and it's Oregon. 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 Huh. We've had a tourist call our town name Crack-a-Duck. That's from Katy. But I don't know how your town name is really pronounced. So
Me neither.
that might be how I pronounce it too. Debbie Dunn says, I cut up a bunch of fabric today, but only got one throw finished. I decided to do miters, even though the throw wasn't square and I knew they wouldn't line up perfectly. I also put 10 yards of backing in the long arm today, prepping for more in the future. I've done that. I still have that. I need to use that. Bill says, I'm assembling my Cotton Cuts table runner during the live. Those are pretty colors.
Yeah, those would look really nice on my new house, Bill. Just saying.
I just got that. Linda Robinson says, I'm working on Trip Around the World with Cape Facet Fabric, diamond string blocks, and bread baskets with matching placemats. Now getting a jump start on Christmas 2024.
Oh.
Karen says, this is the Arcadia Avenue pattern from Sassafras Lane Designs. I am working on, oh my gosh, I want to do this. Holy cow. Guys, look at this.
I didn't see that.
OMG.
Oops. I got
All that color. Oh,
Oh my goodness. I like what Donnell's
so
working
pretty. Oh my gosh.
on. Pandas.
Oh gosh, you're getting ahead of me.
Oh my God,
She's
there's
already halfway
pandas.
down the page. Haven't gotten to yet. Bill says this is a quilt that he made for his mom.
Oh. Oh, it's okay.
It doesn't have a panda, Mary. Move
no
away.
pandas. Darn it.
Very pretty. Jerry Wright says, I made this Morningstar baby quilt for a coworker, and the other one I still need to quilt, but at least it's a sandwich at this point. Pretty star. I like that one too. Those kind of look like Aztec blocks a little bit.
Oh,
Danelle says, I'm working on a purple butterfly themed quilted jacket for my youngest son's girlfriend. The other two pictures are the ones I made for my sons for Christmas. The final photo was my Christmas present from my family. All new YouTube streaming setup talking about a happy mama bear. Let's take a look at that. So here's her purple butterfly stuff. Here's the quilted, nice job, Danelle. Here's her quilted jackets that she made. Oh, that's awesome! The one's got Mario theme. That's great. Oh, look at you, Danelle. That's great.
she got the whole new setup. That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
Love it. All the purple.
Well, yeah. Nice microphone too. Good,
Yeah.
Good job. Nice. Jerry says, working on this Tula butterfly made 100% from scraps. Should have the top finished tonight. I need to do my Tula butterfly at some point. So Terry says, this is what I did with the Cozy Posy triangle blocks I was sewing with Ian. And then I took it in a whole different direction. I think I like your direction better. Spoiler alert. Pam says, this is my first Minky scarf. Oh, I saw those kits on So Yeah. I didn't have the money to buy any at that point, but I wanted to because I thought those would be great to make as Christmas gifts. Maybe next year. Paula says, I made a purse for my mom for Christmas. I'm working on some oversized hot pads. Very pretty. Oh, here you go. This is the quilt I made for my daughter for Christmas. I have called her my little panda bear since she was little. My daughter is a nurse, so the panda's sweaters are all made with different nurses' material. I made the panda with brown eyes instead of black, except for the middle panda has beautiful blue eyes like my daughter. I also made her 2 matching pillows.
Aw.
And then she did little pluses in the middle because she's a nurse.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You'll eventually get your panda, Mary.
I know.
You'll eventually get it.
My
Paula did the Legit Kits giraffe.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Beautiful. Look at this, guys.
Love it.
Yeah. So pretty.
It looks so real.
Yep. They have a few of them that I'm like, is that a photograph?
I know, it looks like a photo. It doesn't look like a quilt at all.
Karen says, I just finished binding and label on this wall hanging today. I submit it to my Quilt Guild show on Tuesday. Kathy says, this is my first FPP, which is 36 by 38. I still need to finish by adding a border. I want to add 4 FPP paws in the corner. I made this in memory of my border collie, Katy, who is my agility partner. Best dog ever. Wow.
Wow, you guys have been busy.
Oh my gosh.
So many nice, beautiful quilts on here.
You guys blow me away with your talent and creativity.
It's awesome.
Sorry for your loss, but beautiful quilt. And then this is the last one before I refresh. Patty Carlson says she's fussy cutting the gnomes.
Oh, gnomes terrify me.
Really?
Yes, they do. I
Oh
don't
my
like
gosh.
them. They scare the life
I don't
out
like
of me.
clowns. Christmas ornaments I made and gave. This is from Susan Year Out. She did some folded Christmas star ornaments. Wow, she did a lot of them. Oh, she made some Christmas trees. Ooh, hand stitched that. Very nice. Lily says, I finally finished my Liberty fabric quilt.
Oh.
It's the biggest one I've done. It's the first time on point. It's a cave pattern. I guess I have a thing for cave. Zoom in to see that. Very pretty. There's something about having a quilt you made on your bed, isn't there?
Yep. I don't have one yet that I made on my bed.
No, but you'll have one that I made on your bed.
I know.
Eventually.
And then I'm going to make one for you. And then I'm going to make
And then
one
I'm
for
gonna have 3 quilts on
myself.
my bed. It's okay. I'll sleep with 10 quilts. It's
Yeah, there you go.
Rhonda said, this is my Hemingway. Pretty.
Yeah, I was confusing the Hemingway bag with the toiletry bag.
Oh, the Holland
But
pouch.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Hemingway. I saw lots of those Hemingway bags on
Yeah.
your
Everybody seemed to
page.
like those, so we'll
Yep.
be doing more. We'll be doing the Holland pouch next. I don't know if that tutorial is going to be January or February, but it is coming. I am going to step you through that one. All right.
Awesome.
So it's 2 minutes after 10 o'clock, and I am done.
Happy New Year, everybody!
Don't forget, if you are in my VIP program or you're a channel member right here on YouTube doing that recurring tip thing, thank you for that, by the way. There is a Zoom session from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday.
Woohoo.
We'd love to see you there, whether it's for 5 minutes or all 4 hours. It'd be fun to hang out with you. And I do think there are lots of quilty content creators out there that are planning fun things for New Year's Eve since it's on Sunday this year. So you'll want to make sure to tune into all of their content as well. I'm just going to check really quick because I think my friend Donna is live right now. And she's doing a beautiful trunk show of all of the things that she has finished in 2023 on her live tonight. So you're not going to want to miss this. I'm just going to get the link for you. Here we go. And I'll drop it in the chat. So if you are looking for somewhere to go, you know the rule. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because I'm ending the live. I would encourage you to hop over to Donna's. So here's the link. Thank you, friends. I'll see you guys all next week.
Bye!
Bye!